We looked at the wellness category and we felt like, and this is back in 2018, right? So it feels like a long time ago, but stuff like Pellew was kicking off and it was all becoming about a practitioner, right? So those practitioners were becoming celebrities, personal brand was becoming a huge thing. At the same time, another big trend we saw was the rise of like multi-discipline wellness, right? So years ago, you might have had a personal trainer or a physio if you got injured, but now you've got like a life coach, a nutritionist, a personal trainer, and actually people are becoming much more savvy that wellness is a 360 thing. You don't just need one practitioner, you need multiple services and practitioners. So we saw that happening. And look, effectively how we then created Until, I mean, I was still working as a consultant at this time, we were all kind of had other jobs. So we just spent hundreds of hours hanging out with practitioners, using the skills that we'd learned, the insight skills, and just trying to really understand what do they need. And what came out of that was they need three big things, right? So they need infrastructure. So in the old paradigm, if you were a health and wellness practitioner, like a physio, a PT, a psychotherapist, if you were leaving employment with a big brand, you'd go and get some grubby little room somewhere. You trade down, inevitably you trade down. And then if you could build a business, you might be able to trade back up and get to better facilities. But facilities were huge, and facilities that you could be proud of, right? And facilities that you love working in, and we'll get into that in a second, I'm sure, about space design. Community as well. I mean, I think this is true of any freelancer. Being a freelancer can be a lonely road, right? Again, you probably left a company where you'd have chats in the kitchen area, and it might be training and development, social nights. You left all of that, and you're on your own running your business, and you had a bad day. Like, you know, there's no one else around you other than your friends and family who you probably don't want to become a kind of pain sponge for your business struggles, right? And so that's hard, right? I think that's true for any freelancers. And then finally, which I was alluding to earlier, help running and growing a business, because often if you're a great practitioner, it doesn't naturally follow that you're a great business person. And so those are the three big unmet needs that we saw. And for us then, physical infrastructure became the market entry point because A, it's the biggest pain point. B, it's probably the biggest barrier to entry for competition as well. So you know, there's a ton of digital services out there, but obviously, as you know, physical infrastructure is costly, takes time, you have to negotiate leases, get great locations. And so that's where we started. So we started building these clubs, we call them clubs, which effectively we talk about ourselves as like the home of growth for top health and wellness practitioners. And the reason for that is we want to be a platform that they can grow and develop on. And I don't just mean grow their business. Of course that's central, but also growing your network, growing your skills, growing your just life skills and personality and character by working around other incredible people. And so our first club was launched in February 2022 in Soho. And it was just off the back of COVID, and we had all of this, tons of interest, tons of pre-sign-ups. I think Omicron had just gone round in January, and so it was like a government work from home order. So it kind of felt like a pseudo lockdown again. And it was really cold in February, and we opened our doors, and it was super quiet. We've got this kind of like graphs that track our growth, and I think we did like 2 sessions on our first day, like two bookings, right? And and I had this kind of like week of like sitting at my desk going like, God, what have we done? But then the world just started to slowly come back. All of the interests that had been expressed in the kind of couple of months beforehand started to materialize. And we started to build this really powerful community of really top practitioners. And I think the bit we did really well at Soho and continue to do is quality. Really high quality practitioners, because that's really important, because A, your community is more valuable when you've got great people working alongside great people because they share their knowledge, but equally then your community becomes a flywheel, because if you get good practitioners, they want to refer into and work with other good practitioners. And so how we design these clubs is you've got a clubhouse, which is where we met when you came to our Marylebone club, where effectively that's where the kind of softer part of a proposition comes to life. Imagine it as a kind of mini co-working social area where practitioners can come in between sessions, run their business, there's events on, there's breakfasts and brunch, they can connect, grow their network, and just genuinely be proud to work in somewhere which is the level they want their business to be at. I mean, when we opened Marylebone, one of the bits I was most proud of was I heard we had a night where members could bring their friends, and I heard one of our newly signed up Marlborough members saying to, it might be one of their partners, I don't know, going, this place makes me want to elevate my business. And that's exactly, and when we opened Soho, people were taking selfies in the clubhouse near our Until logo, and posting, this is where I work, this is my office, right? And so again, this is like the power of when you get design right, how it can really elevate an experience for a practitioner who suddenly, is maybe feeling a bit nervous about taking lead to run their own business, but suddenly they can puff their chest up a bit, right? Yeah. Because they're working from this incredible place, and we've got this brand who's in their corner helping them, which is exactly how I want them to, our members to feel, like we're in their corner, helping them. And so so Soho has this clubhouse. Then effectively, as you go downstairs, you've got treatment rooms. So they're for like physios, osteos, chiropractors. There's like 20 different professions that work out of those rooms. Talk therapy rooms. So they're for like imagine any kind of like therapy where you're sitting across, a bit like this, sitting across from each other, chatting. Not that this is therapy, guy. And it could be. Maybe
it's quite inspiring.
Maybe it will be. Yeah, maybe we'll go there. But it's about psychotherapists, nutritionists, life coaches, and then a gym, a state-of-the-art gym. And look, we're on our third club now. As you will know from probably speaking to a load of people, the learning curve has been incredibly steep, right? So we learned so much. Soho was a really good version 1, but we learned, just not simple, but really big things. Like our insight told us a proposition would work without natural light, and it does, right? Soho's a profitable club, so there's only natural light upstairs, right? The clubhouse and the reception area have natural light. Downstairs doesn't. And Soho's got a great community, profitable club, doing really well. But actually what we've realized is the proposition is so much better with natural light, right? And it really adds to all aspects of it. And so going forward, we'll take a bit of basement space maybe for gym, but not as much. That's a huge learning, right? And obviously, I'm sure you'll know from talking to office and co-working providers, commercially, when you have natural light, you can charge a bit more for it as well. And so actually on day one, it was the reason we went for more basement spaces, lower risk because you can lower rent, easy to negotiate with landlords because it's space they don't really want, and you can get higher landlord contributions. But actually, going forward, that probably isn't something we do, again, not as much basement space. We just learned a lot about actually how do you put all of these bits together, right? Because, I was lucky enough to meet one of the co-founders of WeWork this week, Miguel. I toured him around Marylebone, and it was really interesting hearing his experience about actually what happens when you bring all of these different people together in a building. Obviously, different business, but it's a challenge that we're always cognizant of, right? Because the huge strength for our proposition is we bring all of these different health and wellness practitioners together, and now healthcare, but I'll talk about that in a sec. And that's the benefit of it, right? Because imagine if we were just for personal trainers, it becomes really competitive really quickly. You've got all of these trainers together, they're all doing the same thing, fighting for the same clients. As soon as you make it multidisciplinary, you've got a much more collegiate, collaborative, curious, I want to learn from you versus competitive, right? And so there's loads of brilliance in that. And actually what we're seeing is we're becoming a platform that practitioners come and build a business on. So they come and then they start working, they'll create maybe they'll identify an audience like women's health, and then they'll work with a psychotherapist, a nutritionist, a master. So they'll build a women's health proposition and business on our platform. So not just using our space, but working with a bit too probably close to some of the other bits. So they work really well for some practitioners, but they could be a better experience for people who want it to be very quiet and calm. We learned a lot about actually just the intricacies of building a brilliant gym. We've got Warner Brothers editing studios just below our squat racks. And so, and that created a lot of technical, it really gave us a deep dive into the technical requirements of building a gym and just how cognizant you need to be. And there's a lot of heavy infrastructure going in there. And just the tonality and the vibe of it as well, right? Because Soho is probably a bit tougher.